instruments. Last one we're going to talk about is the bass drum. Another instrument that kind of gets overlooked a lot because maybe you don't realize the kind of musical stuff they can actually do with it. So basically what I have here, my main mallets that I basically use is one is a general mallet. This one, again, a lot of different stick manufacturers have different styles, different brands. Most general playing, you can see this one has a large surface area, which covers a large surface of the actual drum itself. Because it is a big drum, the mallet head should kind of reflect that as far as getting a good sound out of it. I do actually have two of these smaller ones, which kind of serve as my rollers or something that I need some kind of sustain where I can use both those mallets in order to produce kind of like rolls and stuff like that. You don't see it quite as much as probably your general playing, but you do see it more often in our contemporary music. So the way I have it set up basically, and this is a different stand, you have many different stands you can go through. This one is basically a smaller compact one because we have to, for us, we want it compact so we can kind of move it and set it up as quickly as possible because we have we have a very small kind of stage, so we need to make sure that we keep it compact. You have another one which basically is like a free floating model which has a rim around the outside that kind of holds it on a suspension system, which is great too. The main thing is making sure that when you set up, again, it's much like your line of sight where you're playing, where I'd have my music stand would be right here, and then if I needed a towel to put maybe some different mallets and stuff like that, I have that in front so I can just grab it and play it when I need to. What you don't want is making sure that you put any kind of mallets, and this is a conundrum too, or an error that a lot of people do, is put mallets here when they're not using them, or put them down by the rim when they're not playing. All which are wrong. Because again, when you're playing, this sometimes will rattle, it'll fall off, and that's, again, as a percussionist, you don't want those extra sounds in your playing. So, as I'm set up, and this one actually has a footstool kind of on it, so I can use my knee, if I need to actually, what we call dampen or make some kind of articulation with that mallet, or with the head. And I can use my left hand too if I want to. I can bring that around and play it that way. I can play this way a lot if I want. If I want something really articulate, really short sound, I can take my left hand, dampen this head, use this knee to dampen that head, and produce a nice dampened sound. Another common error I see sometimes is dampening while you're playing. So, or it's dampened before you play it. So for most general playing, I want the actual bass drum to produce a nice bass drum sound. If I have my knee here and my left one here, that is not a good sound for me. All right, because you're obviously already dampening the actual instrument, and it doesn't sound as good as here. Now I can play quarter notes if I want to, with my left hand going boom, if I want, and dampen it that way, but I still have that kind of nice low sound to it. If I need something a little more articulate, or for something that has a quicker passage in it, like 60 notes or something like that, I can probably attach maybe a towel, in which case it's kind of like the dampening system on a snare drum, where it will lay over the top of it, and kind of produce a deader sound if you need to. But in most of my general playing, if I'm playing just like quarter notes, I will just let that instrument ring because, again, you want a nice bass drum tone to it, okay? Some other kind of characteristics is most of my playing area on the bass drum is going to be, again, kind of like a snare drum. I don't want to play in the middle because that's the deadest sound. I don't want to play towards the edge because that is a kind of a lighter or kind of a higher pitch sound. I am basically playing, I want a nice kind of low end that still has some length to it. So I'm going to be basically playing most of my stuff a little bit off center. And that can be anywhere around the drum head if you want. Lower, higher if you want. But most of my playing is going to be there. If by chance, and even for quiet playing, I usually do not play up any more towards the edge. I usually play, again, softer here. And if I have to dampen it, I can do it with my leg, or I can do it if I want something shorter. I can do it on the other side too with my left hand. If by chance that you have to use, or if you're playing rolls and stuff like that, I do tend to use, again, the edge and the middle. So if I'm playing something soft, and this is, again, if you're a snare drummer that knows traditional grip, this is where traditional grip kind of has some crossover appeal, is that I can use traditional grip and play a soft roll on the edge there. I can use mash grip too, it's just that I have to move my elbow up a little bit to get that sound. If I want something louder, I'll get more towards the middle and get more of that lead in. Or I can play some off there, okay? So most of my rolls anyways will make sure that you have two matching mallets and making sure that if you want soft, you can play towards the edge and upwards towards the middle. Again, most of my general playing is probably going to be more towards the middle and just adjusting my velocity on the actual head in order to get a softer or louder passage through there. A common too is making sure that you tune, and this is again where the position of the drum. Obviously, the head isn't facing anywhere towards the audience, which is fine because this instrument kind of is omnidirectional, where it goes everywhere, which is just perfect. Setup wise, again, and musically wise, you have to listen because a lot of the times composers will write stuff without any kind of regard to articulation or way it should sound. Most of the stuff when you're playing is probably going to be matching either the low brass, trombones, tuba, all that kind of stuff. So whatever articulation they're playing, if you're playing the exact same stuff they're doing, you want to try to match that articulation, whether it be short notes or whether it be long notes, big hollow notes, okay? So it's always a matter of making sure that your ears are open, whatever musical setting, whatever instrument you're playing, to make sure that you're producing the right articulation for the ensemble around you. And sometimes even matching what the cymbal player is doing too, because sometimes you guys are playing kind of the exact same thing. So hopefully this has kind of helped you out as far as kind of making some musical decisions as far as how to play the bass drum better in your ensemble. Thank you.
Watch me! Watch me! I got it!